And we are live once again, yet again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to it. 7:30 Thursday night. Like we said, multi-marketing is live on Instagram. And tonight we have a very special interview with a fellow short story writer in the multi-marketing anthology. He goes by the name Multi-Marketing Anthology 2022, sorry. He goes by the name of Tshegofatso Mphela, and we're going to be bringing him on shortly. Let's just see here if we can get him online and we can get this on the road. All right, so yeah, we did an interview on Sunday afternoon for those of you Komoi, who is a fellow poet in the Multi-Marketing Anthology 2022, and she gave us a little bit of an insight into what she how she wrote the poetry and stuff. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Tshegofatso Mphela, the short story writer from the Multi-Marketing Anthology 2022. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Khan. I'm very much well, thanks, and yourself.
Thanks, I'm great. Thanks for asking. So, like I said, guys, this is the short story writer from the Multi-Marketing Anthology 2022. He has a short story in this book called Wicked House. And yeah, man, he's here, he's live, he's with us. Like I was just telling the viewers before you came on Sunday afternoon, we had an interview on Instagram as well with Yonela Komoi, who is a fellow poet in the Multi-Marketing Anthology. We had a great interview with her. She and I both were looking forward to interviewing you tonight, so this should be quite interesting. But before we get into that, let's explain to the viewers what is the Multi-Marketing Anthology. So the Multi-Marketing Anthology really came about as an idea for us to take poets and short story writers, both local and international, whether they were published or unpublished before, put them together in a book where they could afford to publish by only paying for their portion. They earn an equal amount of royalties from the Amazon sales, and they get their work published, which is something that they would have loved to see is their work in their hand published. I'm sure you have your copy there with you because you're going to be reading an excerpt for us a bit later on. But yeah, that's basically what the Multi-Marketing Anthology is about. But enough about that. Let's hear from the man himself, Tshegofatso Mphela. He's here for the interview. We're here to hear about him, not me flapping my gums. So let's hear from you again. Just introduce yourself for all the viewers who are watching right now. Just introduce yourself. Tell us, who is Tshegofatso Mphela?
Tshegofatso Mphela is basically the guy that's talking right now. But he's quite a marvelous guy, if I may put it that way. He grew up in one of those rural areas, deep rural areas where when there's a power off, there's no network, there's only one network coverage, and coming to getting out of that background and being exposed to as much possibilities as one can take. And that's basically what Tshegofatso Mphela is. Grew up as this young, vibrant kid whom always wanted to thrive, whom always wanted to be on top of things, whom always wanted to make sure that whatever he touches, whatever he does it the right way. He does it with much excellence and puts his entire energy onto whatever that he is doing.
Yeah, and that is always the best way to go, is the right way of doing things. And I that's something I admire and appreciate. So tell us, coming to your writing now, when and how did you actually start writing short stories?
It's quite an astonishing story. It just came when I was about 12 years. It's something that just came as I was sitting by and just thinking to myself. And when you're just sitting, words come by your mind, and then you want to find a way whereby you can play with those words. And I just took a pencil. I was not a fan of a pen. I always loved the pencil. So I took a pencil and I started, playing with those words that were rhyming in my mind and trying to create something. And as I was doing that, words coming by, and then as far as I know, a page would be full, 2 pages would be full, and when I go back and read that, I'm like, okay, I actually can do this. I actually can play with words and entertain as much people as I possibly can.
Wow, that is very inspirational. That you just started playing around with words, and all of a sudden your pages are full, and that is actually amazing because that is actually somehow how I started writing when I was a wee little boy. That's exactly what I started doing anyway, so it's not unusual
Yeah,
at all.
yeah.
But
No,
you have a story, like I was saying, in the multi-marketing anthology 2022
yeah,
called The Wicked House.
yeah,
Now,
yeah,
for those who don't know what the story of Wicked House, without giving too much away, before I move on to my next question, can you give viewers watching a little bit of an idea about what the Wicked House is about, without giving the ending or anything too much away?
yes. As as kids, as we grow up under different circumstances, and as we grow up, also we get exposed to different circumstances, and the idea of me writing that story, it's the idea that we get exposed and how our reaction is with what we are exposed at, and how our basically how we grow, how our parents actually groom us to from being, that little kid whom sent to the shop, go run there and get me something from the shops, to being someone who actually grows up and starts taking responsibility, being responsible of each and everything and each and every of their actions. Into say now I'm starting to take care of my parents, I'm starting to grow up and be independent. So basically the story just tells that story, just in a way tells that story, but with of course a little bit of more that I cannot simply just give away. But basically the story is it's merely about that. Yes.
Yeah, and I can relate also. As a kid, you're told by your parents, take this 5 Rand coin, go to the shop, buy something, and come back.
Yes.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. Now, when you're grown up, you're actually taking care of them.
Mm.
So that's great. But
Mm.
what inspired you to write your short story that's featured in the multi-marketing? What inspired you to write Wicked House?
What inspired me to write The Wicked House? It's as I have stated, how we respond to what we are exposed to. Um, when you are like me, you're from deep rural areas, and then you get to the city. You get exposed to as much as one can possibly take, and life is fast in the city. You're trying to adapt to one thing, and then tomorrow it's another thing. You're trying to adapt to that another thing. Tomorrow it's different things again. So how we respond to such situations, how we respond to such circumstances, and do we let those circumstances pave our way into a negativity or a positive way? So that actually what has made me to write the story, and also looking at my surroundings, how I see youth respond to the circumstances, and how and what they are exposed to. So that actually made me to write that story. Yes.
Well, being a boy who grew up in the city my entire life, I know exactly what you're talking about, the fast-paced life. And
Yes.
someone was actually telling me, it's nice to go and live in a rural area or suburb. I'm like, no, I like the smell of exhaust fumes. Leave me alone. So I know exactly about the city. So
Yes.
I know that you found out about multi-marketing maybe about a year before we even launched the anthology. You found out about us. We got in touch with you. We saw your short stories. We extended on them. And then we kind of laid it back for a while because you were trying to figure out how you're going to get the funds to actually publish it. And then the idea and the opportunity of the anthology came up. We immediately came to you and said, hey, we got this great idea. Would you like to be in it? And we were so glad that you actually came to us and said, yeah, cool. Put one of my stories in there. We chose what we felt was one of your best stories. We put it in there. So coming out of this whole situation, I'm not going to ask you how you found out about the multi-marketing anthology because you obviously knew us before then. We were the ones who actually came to you with the idea. When and how did you find out about multi-marketing, and how has your experience been with us thus far?
Multi-marketing. It's. I think it's been 2 years with you guys. As you noted, it was before the multi-marketing anthology book was or the idea was launched about the multi-marketing anthology book, and yeah, it's been two roller coaster years, good roller coasters, yes, if I may put it that way. And when I found out about you guys, I was just doing my scrolls on Google. It's we took Google as our main source of research. So I was doing a little bit of research about publishing companies whom I can go with, looking at reviews, and I was comparing with. I just decided to just pick there and there, pick three options, and then compare, and then go with which I think is best. And I chose multi-marketing, and I read everything that I could find about multi-marketing, and yeah, then I just decided to write an email and try to find out more about multi-marketing and what it does. And with the patience that you have, you then took me under your wing and showed me how when you want to get your work out there published and others, so that others can read and feed their mind with your way of playing with words. And yeah, it's been a great experience being under multi-marketing for the past 2 years or 1 year now, more than 10 months, if I can say that.
Yeah, it's been quite a roller coaster. And listen, we appreciate you being a part of multi-marketing, coming to us with your stories, and we really appreciate that you feel like we took you on your wing, which we did. And this is not to put you on a pedestal. You worked your own way. You got this in the book by yourself. We don't take any credit for that. So thank you for choosing multi-marketing. And I can relate to that story of the Google thing, because when I was trying to get published for 8 years, I literally ran through the entire Publishers Association of South Africa catalog trying to get myself published. So I know the story about trying to compare. It's a roller coaster. It really is.
Yeah.
So you're coming back to your story, The Wicked House. Who is your short story aimed at, and what do you hope to achieve, or what do you hope that people will gain from reading your story?
Yeah, this story does not go as wide as it can get one confused. I chose to write the story in a sense that it does not go out of the box. It actually focuses on these people and make them believe, have as much self-confidence in themselves as possible. The next generation, the youth. We have kids. We have kids who are still in primary school, high school. They're still going to come to the city. They're still going to get exposed to the environment of the city. So I wrote that story, in correlation with them, to say, whatever you find as you grow, whatever situation you find yourself as you grow, whatever life throws at you, you have that upper hand, of saying, this is how I want to tackle this thing. This is how I want my life to be, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how many obstacles I come across. This is how I want my life to be. This is what I'm going to focus on, other than letting the circumstances and the situations that you're in, determining where you should go. Whereas it's not where you are entitled to go. It's not where you should be going. So the story basically talks to the youth, basically talks to the next generation, talk to people who want to change themselves. As much as, your age may be, you still have that chance. As long as you're still alive, you still have that chance to change your life if you want to change your life.
Yeah, that's a great message. Everyone is in control of their own destiny. And I think that's what your story is trying to convey. And that is
Yes.
a very good message to have people gain from reading your story. So I have just a few couple more questions, but for the viewers who are watching this live, if you have any questions for Tshegofatso Mphela, we have a comment section. Just drop your questions in the comment section, and when I'm done with the interview, I will obviously read your questions out, and Tshegofatso will obviously answer those questions. But while we're waiting for the viewers to drop their questions in, I wanted to know, people who are going to be buying the multi-marketing anthology, reading your work, maybe loving and enjoying your work, want to read more of it, can those readers expect you to be in the multi-marketing anthology 2023, which is forthcoming?
Oh yes, yes. They definitely can expect another piece of my work in the anthology of 2023. There's, it goes without saying that the anthology book, um, it, 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 it is really indeed an anthology book. If 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 one can define the anthology word, you'd find that it's basically to take a work of people, put it together, create something huge and wonderful for people to view, for people to see, for people to read. You know, and that's why I'm saying they can definitely expect one of my works again in the anthology of 2023.
That's amazing because we do have the 2023 anthology forthcoming. Hopefully, we're trying to get it out earlier this year than last year because of so many unforeseen circumstances that happened. So, yeah, it's great that you'll be featured in there as well. So, for you personally, what do you think the future holds for Tshegofatso Mphela? What do you want to achieve going forward?
Um, outside of my career, definitely getting as much work published as possible, and to me, it's more of getting the word out there. It's more of um, exercising people's mind. It's more of letting people have that positivity in themselves whenever they read my work. It's 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 what I envy and it's what I aim to achieve. So they can expect a lot of writing from the name Tshegofatso Mphela. They can expect as much as possible from me. And yeah, the future is looking bright. We're gonna write, we're gonna publish, we're gonna write, we're gonna publish.
That's great to hear. And as a final question in our interview segment, what advice would you give to other aspiring writers out there?
Yeah, to other aspiring writers out there, don't be afraid. Um, Love your work, value your work, and what you keep into yourself, it's what others need out there. And if you get your work out there, you have that chance of changing someone, of changing how others view the world. Imagine if the world had no writers. Imagine if there were no novels. Imagine if there were no poets. You know, imagine that the world that we would live in. We would not have that courage even us to write today, because we take the courage from the previous writers. We take courage from people who still publish even today. So I would say to them that take that chance. The chance is always there. The ball is always in your court. You just have to kick it. So get out there, research as much as you can, or even better, you can just email multi marketing. They can assist you with that. But get exposed, get your work out there, and it's gonna work pretty well.
Yeah, like you said, email us, info@multimarketing.co.za. We're always here. We always respond to emails. And you know what? You, sir, are such an inspiring person. Just listening to you speak, your words flow like a person who's doing a motivational talk. That's how you speak. So for those out there, before you read an excerpt of your book, for those out there who want to get in touch with you, maybe want to publish your work, maybe see more of your work and stuff like that, your social media handles are in the multi-marketing anthology, but for those who don't have a copy at the moment, who will obviously go into Amazon later and buy a copy and see your handles, just, if you can, tell them what kind of platforms you are on online. Maybe some people will search you up and find you.
Yeah, firstly, let me just start with this one. The platform that we on right now on Instagram is at Tshegofatso Mphela, Tshego_Mphela. And then on Facebook, it's Tshegofatso Mphela, Kgoputjo Mphela. And then on Twitter, it's Tshegofatso Mphela, Tshegofatso Mphela. And then on LinkedIn, it's also at Tshegofatso Mphela.
Amazing. So, guys, what's going to happen right now? Tshegofatso has picked out an excerpt from his book that he's going to read out for us. So while he's doing that, guys, for those of you who are watching who have any questions at all for Tshegofatso while he's reading, type it out in the comment section below. When he's done, we will read out your questions and we'll give a few shout outs and before we wrap it up. So, Tshegofatso, take it away with your excerpt from your book.
Yeah, I just chose a little piece out of the Wicked House short story, and it reads, his parents looked at each other and smiled. Younger, his father then said, "My son, when we were growing up, our parents did not have anything to give us, no gifts for our accomplishments, no birthday gifts or parties, no cake, no nothing. So we both made a vow and a promise to each other that we, through our sacrifice, will give our children the best things in life, which we can afford." And just a few lines after that, it says, after hearing all this, Sipho, who by the way is their son, Sipho's eye started to water. Both his parents noticed this, so they surrounded him with a big, warm, and a loving hug.
Wow.
That's,
amazing.
Yeah,
amazing.
That's basically.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to read the rest of his story, like you've heard a little excerpt there, if you want to read the rest of his story, jump onto Amazon.com. You can get your hands, type in the search bar multi-marketing anthology. You'll download a copy of this book, either an ebook or paperback on Amazon.com, and you'll be able to read the rest of his story and the stories of other authors and the poetry of other poets. We do have some of them among us tonight. I just want to give a shout out to some of them. We have Jolene Logan, who has her short story Sweet Tinsel featured in the multi-marketing anthology. We have Imran Ghani, who also has his short story, The Games People Play, also featured in the multi-marketing anthology. We have quite a few others. I think they're all of Tshego's buddies and friends who came to support him tonight. Teba Mpela, Teboho, Tsepiso, Sean Baloi, and then we have Fazila Korolia, who has her little biography of herself also featured in the multi-marketing anthology. So guys, I see Fazila has commented just her name. I don't know if she has any questions at the moment. We did, before we go into closing remarks, I do want to mention though, I did forget to mention in the beginning, we had an interview with Yonela Komoi, who is a poet featured in the multi-marketing anthology this past Sunday. For those of you who didn't get to see it, the replay is available on both Instagram and YouTube. We have an edited version on YouTube that flows a bit better than it does on Instagram. So go ahead, check that out at Multi-Marketing 365 on YouTube and at Multi-Marketing 365 on Instagram. So I'm not sure if there are any questions. Fazila has not typed anything, and neither has anybody else. So before we wrap this up, Tshegofatso, your closing remarks for everybody watching.
My closing remarks is I just want to say big shout out to multi-marketing for having came up with such a brilliant idea of the multi-marketing anthology book. And a big shout out to all the authors, all the poets, all the writers, you know, everyone who contributed to making this anthology book of 2022 a reality and a living thing. And also give a words of appreciation to, you know, all those that have already got their copies, whether you know, as a soft copy or a hard copy. We appreciate and we thank the support, and we say to others, hey, you're missing out. There's quite a whole lot of people who play with words inside this anthology book. So get your copy today, get your copy tomorrow, get your copyright at the second, and yeah, let's all feature in the anthology book of 2023. And all the best in your future endeavors as well as your achievement in 2023. Let's go get them.
Okay, we do have one question. Tshegofatso Mphela is asked a question. What inspired you to write this story? I believe you've already answered it, but just for him, because I don't think he was here when you did answer that question, just in a nutshell, just for him.
Yeah, what inspired me to write this? I'll just you know, revert back to what I have said. What inspired me to write this story is basically the challenges that we face as the youth, basically the challenges that we face as individuals, you know, regardless of age. And those challenges, you know, whether we let them determine where our next step should be, or what our next step should be rather, and whether we take those challenges and then we wrap them. You know, when you wrap a gift and you take care of that gift, you give it to the next person whom the gift is entitled to, and that's how we should approach challenges rather, to say this is a challenge and I'm going to take this challenge, turn it into something huge that I can use as a motivation. You know, let it not determine my next step. Let me determine my next step through this challenge. So that's basically what inspired me to write. And as well to give words of encouragement and motivation to the youth, to everyone reading the story. You know, the next generation the next generation is of as much importance and needs to be taken care of, because they are the future leaders, they are the future writers, they are the future publishers, you know, and this serves as a way of encouragement to them. This serves as anything positive as they can take.
Okay, and actually, as I was thinking about it, there was a question that came up on Sunday when Yunela was actually on the interview, and I think it's a good idea for me to ask you the question as well, so that all the viewers maybe will have all the questions answered. How have the people around you reacted to you being published in this anthology book?
They were, you know, growing up in such an environment, and you know, I always said to them, more especially my family, that I'm going to take each and every opportunity that comes to me, and I'm going to make something out of the opportunity. And regardless of how hard it may be, I'm going to push that opportunity. I take care of it. So when I told them that my work is published and, you know, my work is out there for people to read, they were quite happy for me. They were so happy. And when I came with a copy this past festive holidays, and I said to them, you see, here's my work, I'm published. You know, they were so happy and they were adamant about reading my work. So yeah, the support that I received around from my family, from my close friends, it was quite astonishing and wonderful.
Great. Tshegofatso, this has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for coming on. I had actually been looking forward to this, and let me tell you something, you over-delivered. You certainly over-delivered on what I was expecting for this interview. I told Yunela on Sunday that Tshegofatso, the roof is not his son, but he will raise it, and you certainly did. So thank you so much. Amazing interview. Thank you for joining us. And listen, all those other authors from the anthology who are watching this, whether you're watching it live now, you're watching it later on, come on, you know, email us, set up a time, just like Tshego did, just like Yunela did. Set up a time, sit down with us for maybe half an hour at most, and you'll be able to speak about the anthology, get it out there, promote the book, because at the end of the day, you're going to be earning from the sales of this book, and if you don't promote it, no one's going to know about it, and it won't sell. So all the authors, Yanela and Tshegofatso have, they've set the bar. It's up to you to raise the bar, exceed it. So jump on, be on interview with us. So Tshegofatso, thank you so much for this interview, and I wish you all the very best. We will see you in the 2023 anthology. We will definitely be in touch. Thank you to all the viewers for watching. Thank you so much for joining us live, or if you're watching this on tape delay. For Tshegofatso Mphela, I am Nosha Khan, and this has been Multi Marketing live on Instagram. Thank you and good night.